Vault horror. Julissa Gomez was a 15-year-old American gymnast with Olympic dreams. In the mid-1980s, she had established herself as one of the country's most promising young talents, known for her determination and powerful vault performances. On May 5, 1988, Gomez was competing at the World Sports Fair in Tokyo, Japan, preparing to perform one of gymnastics' most demanding skills. The Yurchenko vault required a round-off entry onto the springboard, followed by a back handspring onto the vault. It was a technique that demanded perfect timing and spatial awareness. Any miscalculation could lead to disaster. During warm-ups for the vault finals, Gomez's focus was absolute. Spectators watched as she began her run toward the apparatus. What happened next unfolded in mere seconds. Gomez's foot slipped as she hit the springboard. This tiny error changed everything. Instead of propelling upward, her trajectory sent her directly toward the vault. She had no time to adjust. Her head slammed into the hard surface of the vaulting horse with tremendous force. The impact was catastrophic. Gomez's neck compressed instantly, causing severe damage to her spinal cord at the cervical level. She crumpled to the mat, immediately unable to move any part of her body below the neck. Medical personnel rushed to her side as the arena fell silent. Julissa was conscious initially, aware of what had happened, but completely immobilized. Doctors quickly determined she had become quadriplegic. The trauma had severed the neural connections controlling her respiratory muscles. Within minutes, she couldn't breathe on her own. A ventilator became her lifeline. About 2 weeks later, a hospital accident occurred when the oxygen hose to her respirator became disconnected and wasn't discovered for 15 hours. This resulted in cardiac arrest and irreversible brain damage, placing her in a coma. For 3 years, Gomez remained in that vegetative state while her family cared for her at home in Houston. On August 8, 1991, after succumbing to an infection, Julissa Gomez died. She was 18 years old. Teen training camp. In September 2025, a 19-year-old Indonesian gymnast arrived at a training facility in Penza, Russia. Naufal Takdir Al-Bari was his country's Olympic hopeful, preparing for the upcoming World Championships in Jakarta, and projected as a contender for the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics. The training camp at the Palace of Sport Training Center Berdasi had begun on September 1st, with 5 Indonesian male gymnasts and 2 coaches. On September 13th, the young gymnast was working on the high bar. He was attempting a complex element when something went wrong. According to Russian facility staff, he fell awkwardly into the foam pit during his routine. The fall resulted in a severe neck injury. He was immediately rushed to G.A. Zakarian Hospital in Penza, where he was admitted to intensive care. Medical teams worked to treat his injuries. The Indonesian Gymnastics Federation coordinated closely with the Indonesian Embassy in Moscow, the Russian Gymnastics Federation, and the hospital throughout his treatment. For 12 days, he remained in intensive care as doctors fought to save his life. The Indonesian gymnastics community held hope for his recovery, but his condition remained critical. Despite the intensive medical attention and coordination between Indonesian and Russian authorities, his injuries proved insurmountable. On September 25th, Naufal Takdir Al-Bari passed away at the hospital. He was 19 years old. The Indonesian Gymnastics Federation announced his death, expressing profound grief over losing one of the nation's brightest young talents. An investigation by the Russian Gymnastics Federation concluded that all circumstances surrounding the injury had been established, though specific details about the element he was attempting and the exact cause of death were not publicly disclosed. His death marked a tragic loss for Indonesian gymnastics and reminded the international community of the inherent risks in elite gymnastics training. College tragedy. Melanie Coleman was a 20-year-old junior at Southern Connecticut State University. As a nursing student and competitive gymnast, she balanced academic rigor with athletic dedication. Coleman had been involved in gymnastics since early childhood and competed at level 10, the highest level before elite. On November 8, 2019, she attended practice at New Era Gymnastics in Hamden, Connecticut. The facility was familiar to Coleman. She had trained there for nearly a decade under Coach Tom Alberti, who described the accident as totally unexpected in both its occurrence and outcome. That Friday, she was working on the uneven bars during what was described as a routine training exercise. Coleman specialized in balance beam but practiced all apparatuses regularly. During her routine, Coleman slipped off the uneven bars. The exact circumstances of how she slipped remained unclear even after investigation. University spokesman Patrick Dilger stated that the precise details of her slipping from the bar had not been determined. She fell and sustained injuries to her head and neck. Coach Mary Fredericks, who was certified in CPR, was the first to provide treatment before emergency medical personnel arrived. Coleman was immediately transported to Yale New Haven Hospital. She had suffered a serious spinal cord injury from the fall. The University Athletic Department confirmed that all safety protocols had been followed during the practice. Coaches accompanied gymnasts to the facility, which the school had found to meet the highest standards of safety. Despite the immediate medical response and subsequent hospital care, Coleman's injuries proved fatal. For approximately 2 days, Coleman remained hospitalized at Yale New Haven. Her family stayed by her side during this time. On November 10th, she passed away from her injuries. The Connecticut Chief Medical Examiner, Dr. James Gill, later ruled her death accidental, stating the cause as complications of blunt injuries of the head and neck. Coleman's family announced that she had been an organ donor, able to give life to others even in death. Her passing was mourned by the gymnastics community across the country, with programs from Maryland to Colorado expressing condolences. She left behind her parents and 4 siblings. Young star lost. Nguyen Minh Triet was a promising Vietnamese gymnast. At 17 years old, he had won national youth championships and was a member of both the military team and the national junior squad, dreaming of joining the senior national team. On November 10th, 2023, Triet was training at the National Sports Training Center, one in Hanoi, working on his floor routine. The young athlete was practicing a double backflip, an element he had successfully performed before. During the training session, Triet attempted the skill while working over the foam pit. As he executed the movement, something went wrong. According to his coach, Hao Trung Lin, Triet lost feeling in the air and landed with his head in the foam pit. The impact was catastrophic. Triet lay on the mat, unable to move his limbs. Coach Lin immediately called for medical assistance. Medical staff immobilized his neck and transported him to E-Hospital for emergency treatment. Scans revealed he had dislocated his C5 and C6 vertebrae, causing severe spinal cord damage. This resulted in complete paralysis of his limbs and significantly affected his respiratory system. Surgeons performed emergency surgery, but doctors gave him only a 10% chance of making a full recovery. Although he remained conscious at Bach Mai Hospital, where he was transferred for further treatment, he had no sensation in his limbs. The sports community rallied to support Triet and his family, who were facing extreme financial hardship. The Vietnam Gymnastics Federation launched fundraising efforts to help with medical costs. After his second surgery, Triet told his coach that he deeply appreciated life and earnestly wanted to live. Despite intensive medical care and strong community support, Triet showed no signs of recovery. He was transferred to Thanh Nan Hospital in April 2024, after nearly 6 months of treatment, during which doctors and his family tried their best. Nguyen Minh Triet passed away on May 9, 2024. He was 18 years old. His death was mourned by the Vietnamese gymnastics community as a tremendous loss of a young athlete with significant potential. National Championships. Alam Hassan was a 24-year-old gymnast competing in the Cameroon National Championships in July 2003. Hassan was from Yaoundé, a city located approximately 600 kilometers north of Yaoundé. During the championships, Hassan was performing a floor routine when tragedy struck. According to Yvette Makuri, president of the Cameroon Gymnastics Federation, Hassan landed on his forehead during this routine. The impact caused him to fracture the base of his skull. Hassan was immediately rushed to the hospital, but despite medical intervention, he succumbed to his injuries. The 24-year-old gymnast was later buried in Yaoundé. The tragedy occurred just weeks after another devastating loss for Cameroon, the death of international footballer Marc-Vivien Foé, who collapsed during the semi-final of the Confederations Cup against Colombia on June 26, 2003. Hassan's death highlighted the inherent risks in gymnastics, particularly in developing programs where resources and equipment may be limited. While specific details about the circumstances of the accident were not extensively documented in contemporary reports, his death remains a somber reminder of the dangers athletes face in pursuit of their sport. 2 weeks before Olympics, Elena Mukina was 20 years old, the reigning world champion in women's gymnastics, training at the Minsk Palace of Sport in early July 1980. The Moscow Summer Olympics were just 2 weeks away, and the entire Soviet gymnastics program was focused on achieving dominance on home soil. Born in Moscow in 1960 and orphaned at age 5, Mukina was raised by her grandmother. She remained an unremarkable gymnast until 1974, when she began working with coach Mikhail Klimenko. Under his guidance, she transformed into one of the sport's most innovative athletes. At the 1978 World Championships in Strasbourg, France, she won the all-around title, defeating Olympic champions Nadia Comaneci and Nelly Kim. In late 1979, Mukina broke her leg during training, requiring surgery. The injury healed improperly, necessitating a second surgery. With the Olympics approaching, she was rushed back into training before her leg had fully healed. During this rushed rehabilitation, Klimenko added an extremely dangerous element to her floor routine. The Thomas Salto, a 1 3/4 backward somersault with 1.5 twists. The move was performed almost exclusively by male gymnasts. Mukina repeatedly warned that she would break her neck attempting it, but was pressured to keep it in her routine. On July 3, 1980, Klemenko had temporarily left the training camp. Mukina was training under other coaches when she was instructed to perform her floor routine with full difficulty. As she attempted the Thomas Salto, she under-rotated the element, failing to achieve sufficient height and rotation speed. Mukina crashed to the floor, landing directly on her chin. The impact snapped 3 cervical vertebrae, causing immediate paralysis of all 4 limbs. She was rendered quadriplegic instantly. In later interviews, she revealed her first thought was, "Thank God I won't be going to the Olympics." The following day, Professor Arkady Lifshitz performed surgery that saved her life, but the spinal cord damage proved irreversible. She would never walk again. Elena Mukina lived for 26 years after her accident, cared for by her grandmother and later by a former gymnast, Elena Gurina. She died on December 22, 2006, at age 46 from complications related to her quadriplegia. If you want to see more videos like this, click the video on screen now and make sure to subscribe.